Week 3 at Soldier Field. The Chicago Bears and their fans finally got what they've been waiting for, a complete game in all three phases. Perhaps most notably, the offense in particular looked like a force to be reckoned with. First-year head coach Ben Johnson picked up his first win in grand fashion, steamrolling the Dallas Cowboys, 31-14. In his best game as a pro, quarterback Caleb Williams was calm and in command, finishing 19 of 28 for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns. The play that set the tone came early, a perfectly timed flea flicker that sent the crowd into a frenzy. Williams handed to DeAndre Swift, who flipped it back, and Williams uncorked a 65-yard bomb to Luther Burden 3. Touchdown Bears. It wasn't just flashy, it was calculated. Based on his post-game comments, Johnson knew Dallas would bite, and he punished them. Ben Johnson says he saw something in Matt Eberflus's defense that made him decide to call flea flicker. When asked specifically about the flea flicker in his post-game presser, Johnson revealed he and his coaching staff had seen something on film in Flus's defense previously that gave them the confidence to call that play specifically. "We have gadgets up every week," Johnson said about the flea flicker after the win. "I give the staff a lot of credit. They're going through, watching the tape, and finding out things that may or may not fit, whether it's Dallas this year or some of the stuff we're watching of Chicago's defense from yesteryear. So that was really a staff find. And we worked it all week and felt comfortable calling it this week. Something we practiced all week," Williams said about the play. "I told Luther, you won't outrun me in the game, just run." They did a great job. The O-line, the flea flicker, is a really long play. So for them to be able to hold up and be able to allow DeAndre to toss the ball back to me, it did a free throw kind of floater thing. After that, just let it rip and let Luther go make a play. It wasn't just one play, though. The Bears stacked explosives all afternoon. Williams found Rome Odunze for a 35-yard TD on the first drive, then hit T. Colston Loveland for another 31-yard chunk over the middle. Swift ripped off a 41-yard screen on third and long. Burden added another 29-yarder before halftime. Bears' third-quarter drive versus Cowboys was a thing of beauty. There was also the third-quarter drive, which pretty much sealed the Cowboys' fate. Chicago opened with a 19-play, 76-yard march that chewed up nearly 10 minutes of clock. 11 of those plays were runs. The Bears completely imposed their will, and Williams capped the drive off with a fourth-down TD to DJ Moore. It was a game that never really felt close. For the first time in his young career, Williams wasn't sacked. Chicago also converted more than half its third downs, 8 of 14, while Dallas went just 3 of 11. They'll never admit it fully, but there was an undeniable personal angle to this matchup for both Eberflus and Johnson. Eberflus, fired by Chicago last season, returned as Dallas defensive coordinator. Instead of keeping Williams and the offense in check, he watched his former players torch him all afternoon. On the flip side, Johnson is the guy Chicago hired to replace him. Beating Eberflus head-to-head for his very first win? That's the kind of stuff a new regime can build on. The Dallas Cowboys have one of the NFL's worst defenses through 3 weeks, yet football czar Jerry Jones still is a believer in his defensive coaching staff. Jones gave defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus and the rest of the Cowboys' defensive coaching staff a vote of confidence after they allowed 30-plus points for the second straight week in a 31-14 loss to the Chicago Bears on Sunday. The Cowboys, 1-2, are ranked 30th in yards against per game, 397.7, and 27th in points against per game, 30.3, through 3 games, and likely would have surrendered more than 24 points in their season opener against the Philadelphia Eagles, if not for a third-quarter lightning delay. The Cowboys will host the Green Bay Packers, 2-1, on Sunday Night Football. Real confidence in Eberflus' defensive staff. Through 3 games, Dallas' defense looks similar to the one that finished 28th in yards against per game and 31st in points against per game and got defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer replaced by Eberflus. Yet, according to Jones, he still has confidence in his coaching staff. "I've got real confidence that this staff that we've got," Jones told 105.3 Fan on his weekly Tuesday morning radio hit. Eberflus, we know well, coached here for 7 years before he left coach elsewhere. Having said that, that's not a discussion point. Eberflus, of course, was the Bears head coach for 2.5 seasons until he was fired after Week 13 in 2024. He is the third Cowboys defensive coordinator in as many seasons. Dan Quinn left after the 2023 season to become the coach of the Washington Commanders. Jones was asked if he thought the revolving door of defensive coaches had an impact on the players. "I think it plays a role, but it's not an excuse because you've got turnover all over this league in coaching and you've got turnover in players all over this league," Jones said. "So you've got to factor that in." Dallas allowed 396 yards to Caleb Williams and the Bears on Sunday, a week after surrendering 37 points and 506 yards to the lowly New York Giants, who have just 15 points scored and 542 total yards in their other 2 games this season. "You got to be able to stop explosive plays," Jones said. "When you don't have it, you have to make adjustments." Despite his defense of Dallas coaches, Jones was willing to admit its defense did not play well enough to win. "There's not much argument as to what we didn't do well that resulted in the loss," Jones said. "There's not a lot of conversation about that other than how can we, this coming week and the 3 days of practice, how can we basically address it personnel-wise and scheme-wise." Jones wishes Parsons the best. The huge narrative entering the Cowboys game against the Packers is the return of Micah Parsons. Parsons, of course, was traded from Dallas to Green Bay for 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark on August 28th, and Jones had nothing but high praise for the 2-time All-Pro. "I think the world of Micah," Jones said. "I might say I wish him well, but it's obvious I don't this weekend in terms of Green Bay winning the ballgame." The Dallas Cowboys are searching for answers after the team's 1-2 start, and things went from bad to worse with CeeDee Lamb expected to be sidelined for the foreseeable future. ESPN's Todd Archer reported that Lamb is expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Pro Bowl wide receiver CeeDee Lamb could miss 3 to 4 weeks with a high left ankle sprain suffered in Sunday's loss to the Chicago Bears, according to a source. Archer detailed in a September 22, 2025, message on X. Lamb had indicated after the Cowboys lost to the Chicago Bears that he planned to play against the Green Bay Packers in Week 4. Now, it appears Lamb is in danger of missing the next month of the season. With Lamb sidelined, it may be time for the Cowboys to explore potential trades to add a playmaker. Find out why the Carolina Panthers could once again be a potential trade partner. The Cowboys may need to make a trade to help replace CeeDee Lamb's production. Last November, the Cowboys acquired Panthers wideout Jonathan Mingo. Unfortunately, Mingo has been unable to make a significant impact on Dallas offense. Through the first 3 games, Mingo has yet to record a reception for the Cowboys in 2025. One of Mingo's former teammates could make some sense for Dallas. Ahead of Week 3, Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox listed Panthers wide receiver Xavier Legette among the top 10 potential NFL trade candidates. The former first-round pick has yet to live up to his potential with the Panthers. Carolina also just selected wide receiver Tataroa McMillan with a top 10 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Dallas will lean on George Pickens in Lamb's absence. It remains to be seen if the Cowboys will make an additional move for a wideout, but Legette could make some sense in Big D. The wideout's 4-year, $12.3 million rookie contract is slated to go through the 2027 season. Cowboys rumors. Could Dallas push for a trade for Panthers WR Xavier Legette? What would Legette cost the Cowboys in a potential trade? Bleacher Report projects Legette's trade value as a conditional third-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Legette had his fair share of rookie struggles, but they weren't particularly alarming. Knox wrote in a September 15th story titled, 2025 NFL Trade Block Big Board entering Week 3. Plenty of first-year receivers have experienced growing pains, and Carolina's offense wasn't particularly good for most of the year. However, Legette has looked even worse through the first 2 weeks of his sophomore campaign. Adding Legette would be a risk-reward move that could make a lot of sense for teams with questionable receiver depth. A third-round pick that could become a second based on statistical production would be a fair asking price for Carolina. Potential Cowboys trade target Xavier Legette was selected by the Panthers in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. The Panthers selected Legette with the number 32 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. Legette is in his second season with the Panthers and has 53 receptions for 505 yards and 4 touchdowns during his time in Carolina. The playmaker posted 71 receptions for 1,255 yards and 7 touchdowns during his final college football season at South Carolina in 2023. Here's how NFL.com's Lance Zierlein described Legette's scouting report heading into the 2024 draft. His star shines brightest once the ball goes up, and he's able to use his body control, play strength, and ball skills to impose his will on the coverage, Zierlein noted in his pre-draft profile of Legette. He's unlikely to become a smooth route runner, but he can handle tough catches, and he has stealth acceleration that makes him a credible deep ball threat. Add toughness as a runner and run blocker to his profile of competitiveness, and he becomes a day 2 talent with the potential to develop into a starter.